Voice acting in video games has revolutionized itself over the course of the last 20 years or so. I can remember a time when Final Fantasy, for example, didn't have any voice acting, and we finally got the 10th entry in the series. Oh, we got some voice acting, all right. Y'all remember Tidus's laugh? Ha, 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 ha! That is not a good impression at all, but it was supposed to be cringe for a reason. I guess to give the more character, more authentic feel of cringiness. I don't know. That's what I read somewhere a long time ago. And there are other games that have really bad, notorious voice acting, but the game is great itself, and that goes to Heavy Rain for PS3. Jason! 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 Or, y'all remember this one too, Sean! 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 Stuff like that is, some voice acting just doesn't fit, but some of it is glorious. And I've played a lot of games that have great, and then some that don't. But one thing I want to touch on today is games that don't have voice acting, and when people play those games whenever they stream. I want to talk about what us streamers do in those instances to where we're playing a game, do we just read the text, or do we actually act out the parts? I am not the type of person that could just sit there and read the text from the screen. That's the desert. That's the desert out there. Sure you got everything you need? Because it just feels so mundane. It feels lifeless to me. I mean, who the hell would want to listen to that whenever they could just play it on their own and read it themselves? Whenever I stream, I want to create an experience for myself and also my audience, because I'm actually putting the time in to actually play the game, and they're actually taking the time out of their day to watch me play. So that's half the fun about, experiencing RPGs whenever I play them, whenever I stream, is to do the select voices of the characters. And a lot of the RPGs that I do play are primarily what I like to voice for. I don't really do that with platformers too much. I sometimes here and there will. It is mainly RPGs that I do that for, and I do play a lot of them that don't have voice acting, because if you recall what I said, case in point, Final Fantasy X was an example. Voice acting was not really common in a lot of our earlier RPGs on Super Nintendo, on PS1, so that's what I mainly play is PlayStation 1 games, so I'm going to add my little special touch to the games. Now, one game that I've been doing that recently for is Breath of Fire 3. It is my first time, well, technically my first time playing through the game. I played it a couple years ago. I got maybe about 24 to 30 hours into it, I want to say. I was actually streaming it on TikTok. Then I stopped streaming it because I decided to go to Twitch and make that my main platform for streaming games, because trying to balance between TikTok and that, it wasn't cutting it for me. So I decided to opt for Twitch, and I'm glad I did, because I like Twitch. It's better for an experience for me as a streamer. Now, getting back to my point, I finally picked up Breath of Fire 3 again. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to finish it this time, because I liked what I played. I just couldn't do 2 RPGs at once, because it is a lot to handle whenever you're going from grinding for this, grinding for that, doing this, doing that. There's a lot to take on, especially whenever you're doing multiple, and they do take a lot of time. Some of them are shorter, some of them are longer. It just really depends on what you got in rotation. Now, whenever I picked it back up again, I'm like, okay, I'm going to beat it this time. I'm going to get through it. And I've gotten a lot further this playthrough than the last time that I did, and I'm having more fun with it this time, because there's a lot of things I never knew that were going to be in the game that I've discovered, and the voice acting and the dialogue is one of the biggest gems that I found in Breath of Fire 3 so far. So what I'm going to do for you now, I'm actually going to give you some displays about some of the voice acting that I've done for Breath of Fire 3 to let you experience firsthand about what me and my audience go through every time that we play. Behind the scenes look at the stream setup. So what you have is follows: camera, me, TV, game, microphone, looks like a beer can, overflowing, magical. This is what you get. So this is what everyone experiences, and if you've not experienced it, be prepared for me to tell you what happens, especially whenever we play RPGs. So now we're getting a scene of Breath of Fire 3. I just got through the damn desert of death. I fucking hated that bullshit. I will cover that in my review in more in depth, but man, I tried for over 2 hours to get through that damn thing. I tried literally following one way, then another way. It wasn't doing anything. I'm like, you know what? Screw it. I'm going to pull up the guide. Yes, I pulled up a fucking guide because it's that damn hard to deal with. And guess what? The guide still didn't help me. And guess what? Someone told me that there's a shortcut. Oh, there's a shortcut. Let's try it. I didn't didn't think it was going to work, but literally by the skin of my ass hair, it fucking worked. I'm like, I made it out of the fiery pits of sandy hell. Literally, it is literally sandy hell. Now, but this is where we are right now. We're on the outskirts of it, so I don't have to go through it again. At least I hope not. Anyway, we're about close to the end game, so it's okay to talk about this at this point. So with the voice acting, getting back to what we were focusing on. So I do different voices for each character, whether it be in the towns or the main characters of the actual game itself. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go start camp, and I'm actually going to do the voices that I normally do in game, so that way I have something to read off, so that way you'll know exactly what you're going to be hearing from each character, because it's just easier to do it that way versus just me looking at the screen trying to figure out what the fuck for them to say. Sometimes I do a little bit of improv. It just really depends on the situation. So let's get into it. So we first have Rayu, the silent protagonist, the Dragon Prince. Yes, spoiler, aka 101. Just in case you didn't know, there might be a little bit of spoilers here and there and everywhere. But hey, I mean, the game is literally 30 years old. Come on. Now, Rayu doesn't really say anything. So the thing that I do with him, I do what I call the Link. You know how Link doesn't talk? He basically just goes, that. I kind of do that with Rayu, but a little bit more subtle, like that, depending on like what the exclamation is. Like they'll like sweat if they're kind of like embarrassed, or they'll have like a little exclamation over their head if like, what the hell. They have little markers to indicate kind of how they feel in a sense, so that's kind of a little bit helpful whenever it comes to voice acting for this game. So that's what I do with Rayu. Now Momo, she basically, her character, she's kind of like a scientist, so I envisioned her as an inquisitive, someone that actually has like a little bit of an uppity voice. However, kind of in a British accent. Don't come at me for this accent. I did try my best, but this is how I perceive Momo, and this is what I ran with. So let's listen to what I sound like whenever I play Momo. Oh, I guess with a little luck, you might even be able to live out here in the desert. Ew, it's so hot. Ew, indubitably dreadful. Ew. That's my Momo voice. It can get a little bit deeper depending on if she's excited or she's annoyed. It just really depends on what she's going through at the time, but that's just a more subtle voice is what I'm doing. I want to make something clear. I am not a voice actor from any means. I just do it for fun. I can do voices way better than some others. I think the best one I'm known for is my Meatwad voice, but do you see a character that looks like Meatwad that I'm going to do that for? I'll tell you what I'm going to do. There ain't no damn character in here. I can make this work. What the hell are you doing? Holy shit, no. So, no, that would not fit any character in here. But yeah, that is my best voice that I do. And people say I sound like Sandy Cheeks from SpongeBob, but that's just my regular fucking Southern twang. It's not anything I'm doing on purpose. I can't do that. I literally can't. It just comes out when it wants to. I have no control over that one. That's just the funny part about that. Then we have, moving on to the next main character, we have Ray. This is everybody in our party. There was another party member named Tipu, but he's no longer here. I don't know what the hell happened to him. I have no idea. I think I'll find out eventually if he's still alive or whatever. I don't know. Going on to him. Now, he is a cat, a tiger, so I'm a big fan of cats, so I kind of give like a little bit of a growly, but I perceive him as more like a southern cat, just with the way he looks and the way he kind of speaks with his actual dialogue. So that's what I gave him as far as his voice. So let's talk to Ray and see what he has to say. No, I always thought nothing would survive in the desert. Well, but the people at the oasis seem to be doing pretty well. No. That's my voice for Ray. Now, Gar is the Guardian. He basically, the backstory with Gar is that he used to be a dragon slayer. So pretty much Rayu is the last of the last. So he thought until he actually found more of the brood, but they were trying to save their powers for Rayu, which because he's the Prince of Dragons, they transported over everything to him. Like I said, this is spoiler heavy a lot. So like I said, anyway. So he thought he destroyed the whole thing with the brood a long time ago, but apparently he didn't because he met Rayu whenever he was younger. Then 10 years later, Rayu is now grown, as you can see. So now they're friends, basically the search for God is what they're trying to do at this point. Yes, God. Or, Miris, I think is what her name is. I don't know, haven't met her yet, so we'll figure it out. So I gave him, he looks like Bowser, but pumped. He literally looks like Bowser from Mario, but he's literally bulky. So I gave him a little guttural tone, like deep growly kind of voice, the best I can. I can do like a growly voice, kind of like a death metal thing. I've been told that. People have said I kind of sound like a Batman. I don't like Dark Knight Batman. I don't think so, but you tell me what you think whenever you hear me talk to Gar. So here we go. I don't know how to say that, so I'm going to roll with it because this is a new area, so I have no idea. Some of these places, it takes me a minute to get the gist of the cities. Zarzan, could it be where God once dwelt? That's literally that. That's pretty much how he sounds. He has the guttural, and then whenever he does like that, he'll do sometimes whenever he's thinking. So it just depends. He's the more serious type. He's not really a happy-go-lucky guy. He's literally, very serious character, never sad, never worried. He's just straight to the point. Next up, we have Piku. Piku is like an onion. I don't really know much about him. You meet him in the plant. He's kind of like a little morph plant, basically, that comes out of another plant. And, he basically doesn't talk. He literally just says, Piku, Piku, like that, or has like little words like that. Whenever he's asleep, he sleeps a lot. So not really much dialogue with Piku. So whenever he actually fights, it's funny. He actually looks like a version of Majin Buu whenever he gets in his bigger form. Trust me, you'll see whenever I talk about it in the review. It's fucking hilarious as hell. I'm like, what the fuck is Majin Buu doing here? Well, I mean, if Bowser's in this game and Majin Buu and then another character I'm about to talk about, then, I mean, what the hell can't be in this game? Anyway, moving on to him. So he's asleep right now, so I'll be doing a sleeping voice for him as follows. Piku, Piku, Piku. My throat. Whoa. Sometimes doing voice acting, shifting between those can really work your throat muscles for real. But there you go, sleeping Piku. Piku. Pico, almost. Piku, Pico, I've heard both. Now, the last one that we're going to do that's in our party would be Nina. Now, Nina is the princess of Windia. Apparently, from what I know of the history of Windia, I don't, like I said, it's my first playthrough, so I don't know all the lore about Breath of Fire 3. She used to be part of a family that could take flight. She looks like she has wings on the back of her right now. She's never flown or anything. I don't know if she'll do it later on in the game or not. I highly doubt it. She does have magical powers. She is pretty much your mage, but she feels useless half the time because half her magic don't do jack shit. At least not from my experience, it hasn't. Now, there's another thing in this game called Masters that you can get. I will say that I've been pretty lax on the Masters at this point. I do have everybody a Master, but I recently just did that with a lot of them. I know Rayu had Bunyan for the longest time, but there's like several Masters that you can get and progress, like, your leveling skills, and they offer different things. But again, that's another thing for the review. That's just touching a little bit of base on that. But like I said, I didn't know too much about that in this game, and I kind of just off-skirted it and focused more on the gameplay and everything and just having fun with it, because first playthrough, sometimes you don't do everything, sometimes I try to. It just really depends. Now, moving on to her voice. Whenever I thought of her voice, I kind of thought just like a clear, concise voice. Now, I did a different voice whenever she was younger. Same thing with Rayu. Even though I did like the Link-based stuff, it was in a more like a youngish tone. With her, she was more like a high-pitched tone. But then I kind of smoothed her voice out now that she's older, more sophisticated. She's a princess. So that's why I went with that. Now, if you'll notice, she looks like Peach. That's what I meant by another character that looks like that belongs in another game. What the hell are you doing here? So she really reminds me of Princess Peach. So let's go ahead and talk to her and let's see what she says. Everyone said it couldn't have been done, but we did it. We crossed the ocean and we crossed the desert. I knew we'd make it. I knew it. We did it. Rayu, we did it. That. So it's basically clear, concise, high pitch. That's basically what I do for her. That it's pretty, it's pretty straightforward with her voice. Now, there are some voices that I do in the towns, like specific towns have like specific voices. Like Junktown, I kind of do like a hillbilly voice, but we can't go over that way because where I just crossed the desert and I have to backtrack all the way back there just to do that. You know what? I'm actually going to see if I can. If not, I'll take you to the other place that I really like to do the voices for. Sadly, I could not get to Junktown because I can't get out of the damn desert. I'm stuck in the oasis on this side because there's no way out unless I try to backtrack, and I don't fucking know how the hell to get out of there. I don't know a shortcut, so I'm just staying here. I'll eventually get back to Junktown and basically just do like a southern accent for everybody in the town. You know, old guy, old lady, whatever. You know, I do the voice for it and I alternate my voice, and it's funny as hell. The other place I wanted to talk about was the fairy place. So basically, there is like a little town for the fairies in the game. You access that through a little ring on the actual board, which is a flower ring, and your fairy tiara that you do have lights up and you get transported there. So basically, the first time I ever met the fairies was an encounter between a dolphin that was bullying them, terrorizing them, and then them. So that was one of the funniest things I've ever seen. There's actually a short of me, you know, interacting between the dolphin and the fairies and doing both voices at the same time, and it is fucking hilarious, especially when the dolphins scared the shit out of me, going, shit, I'm like, what the fuck? It scared the fuck out of me. I jumped back. I did not think it was gonna happen, but it did. Yes, you do have to fight the dolphin because he's bothering the fairies. So the fairies basically are just rebuilding their own world. You assign them to different tasks and they do it. So, and then their town grows as follows. That's really all I know about the fairies. I know that they could duplicate items, but I don't really know how that works because I just now found that out the other day. So, oh, the more you know. But the fairies are definitely one of my voices that I love doing. If you want to hear the fairy voices, go check out that short. That is definitely where you're going to hear it. I may do another one just for that purpose, just to let y'all hear it again. But right now I can't access it because there's no fairy portal for me too. But we're in another town. We have someone else in front of us, a little robot guy. There are several robots in the game that I do voices for, which I find really fun. So we're going to go ahead and end off the voice acting with that. Since you've heard all the main characters, why not hear something else now? So let's see what he's got going on here. I think this is some kind of shop. I don't know. Pie gaga, rule, beep beep boo beep, hello. Human detected, 43111, something like that. So that's basically what I would do in regards to robot voices, depending on what they say. And yeah, it's an item shop. I don't know what he has for sale. I'll find out later. Streaming for 4 years, there's been a lot of games that I've done different voices for, and I am down to show you guys more of that. If you want to hear it, definitely let me know, because it's been a hell of a ride playing all these RPGs with no voice acting and implementing voices for each individual character. I even did that with Suikoden. Yes, with Suikoden, the 108 characters, everybody had a different voice. You know how hard that is to do, but I managed to do it. I wish I was able to beat it, but I'm at damn save file. I won't get into that again. Anyway, it was fun actually getting to preview these voices with you guys. I hope you enjoyed, but until next time, this is the PlayStation Girl Sonic Gamer!